The person with the most power in your office isn't who you think it is. That organizational chart hanging in the lobby. It's a convenient fiction. The person with the corner office, often just a figurehead. The executive with the impressive title. They might be the last to know what's actually happening. I spent 12 years navigating the corporate landscape of Britain's largest firms, and what I learned about power rarely matched what was written in any company handbook. Today, I'm sharing the unwritten rulebook of office politics, how power actually flows, who really wields it, and how you can navigate this reality without becoming another corporate casualty. The shadow hierarchy ovary. Office has an official hierarchy and a shadow. 1. The shadow hierarchy is where the real power lies. Let me introduce you to the most powerful people you're probably overlooking. First, executive assistants. They appear subordinate on paper, but they control access to decision makers, filter information, and often know more about company operations than most directors. I've seen multi-million-pound initiatives stall for months because someone failed to recognize the ease influence. The smartest operators in any company build relationships with EA before they need them. Second, the IT department. In our digital workplaces, they see everything: email traffic, browsing habits, file access. The head of IT at my last firm knew about the merger 3 months before most of the executive team. They weren't invited to strategy meetings, but they set up the secure server for the documents. Information is power, and they have access to all of it. Third, long-tenured middle managers. They've survived multiple restructurings, outlasted several leadership teams, and have accumulated what I call organizational memory. They know where the bodies are buried, metaphorically speaking. They understand which policies are actually enforced and which are routinely ignored. When these people say, "We tried that in 2015, and here's what happened," everyone listens. Fourth, the finance controllers. They may not have the CFO title, but they control the practical flow of money. Need budget approval, need an expense processed quickly. These relationships matter more than your department's official budget allocation. Power currencies bind the shadow hierarchy. Understanding power requires recognizing the actual currencies that operate in corporate environments. Your job title is just one form of capital, and often not the most valuable. The first true currency is information asymmetry. Those who consistently know things before others wield enormous influence. This isn't about gossip. It's about material business information. I watched a seemingly junior analyst become indispensable because she was the first to spot industry trends. She built her network to ensure she received information first, then strategically shared it to build influence. The second currency is relationship capital. Map the relationships in your organization. Who has allies across multiple departments? Who gets invited to meetings outside their functional area? These people have invested in relationship capital, and it yields dividends when resources are allocated or opportunities arise. The third currency is perceived indispensability. Notice I said perceived. I've worked with technically brilliant colleagues who remained invisible and technically average colleagues who made themselves seem irreplaceable. The difference: the latter group explicitly connected their work to critical business outcomes and ensured decision-makers understood those connections. The final currency is courage capital, the willingness to speak uncomfortable truths upward. This is rare and therefore valuable, but there's a delicate art to it. Deliver hard truths privately, frame them constructively, and always bring solutions. I've seen careers made when someone tactfully said what everyone else was thinking. Reading the landscape. Do you actually map these power dynamics in your own workplace? First, observe meeting behaviors carefully. Who speaks first after the senior person? Who gets interrupted and who doesn't? Whose suggestions get immediately built upon rather than politely acknowledged and forgotten? Watch email patterns. Who gets copied for visibility versus actual input? When group emails go out, who responds first and who waits to see which way the wind blows? Notice informal gatherings, the pre-meeting meetings, and the post-meeting debriefs often reveal where decisions actually happen. If you're only in the formal calendar invites, you're seeing the performance, not the rehearsal. Study resource allocation. Regardless of the official process, certain teams consistently get more budget, headcount, or project approvals. This isn't coincidence. It's evidence of power. Most revealingly, watch what happens when things go wrong. The distribution of blame versus support reveals the true power map of your organization. The protected versus the expendable becomes immediately clear. Tactical approach. How do you navigate this landscape effectively? First, build genuine expertise in something the business actually values. This creates your initial form of power. But this is crucial. Make that expertise visible without being statoy. Share insights freely. Mentor others. Become the go-to resource. The goal is to become the person others automatically mention when certain problems arise. Second, cultivate strategic relationships horizontally, not just upward. Your peer network often determines your fate more than your boss does. When 6 department heads are discussing candidates for an opportunity, you want multiple advocates in that room. I've secured roles, not because my manager championed me, but because 3 of his peers suggested me. UNPROMPTED. Third, control your information flow strategically. Never lie or withhold critical information, but be thoughtful about timing, packaging, and context. Information without interpretation is a missed opportunity to shape narrative. Fourth, align yourself with revenue and core metrics. The further your role sits from revenue generation, the more deliberately you need to connect your work to business outcomes. In times of restructuring, fuzzy contributions are the first to be questioned. Fifth, become a translator between groups. Build the reputation as someone who helps technical teams understand commercial priorities and helps commercial teams understand technical constraints. Being the bridge between silos creates unique value. Lastly, choose your battles with extreme care. Political capital is slowly accumulated and quickly depleted. I've seen promising careers derailed by fighting the wrong issue at the wrong time. Ask yourself, is this the hill I want to die on? If the answer isn't an immediate yes, pause and reconsider. Ethical considerations. Note on ethics, because office politics often gets dismissed as manipulative gameplay. The approach I'm advocating isn't about manipulation. It's about literacy. Understanding how your organization actually works isn't cynical. It's realistic. You can navigate these dynamics with integrity. In fact, the most effective operators I've observed combine political savvy with genuine values. They build influence, not to hoard power, but to drive better outcomes for themselves, their teams, and their organizations. The least ethical approach is actually political naivety, allowing good ideas to fail, because you didn't understand how to navigate the human systems around you. Conclusion. So what happens when you master this landscape? You gain the ability to get things done, regardless of your formal authority. You become more valuable to your organization and more employable elsewhere. You waste less energy fighting unwinnable battles and focus that energy on meaningful impact. The corporate world isn't a pure meritocracy, but neither is it pure politics. The most successful navigate both domains skillfully. If you found this useful, consider subscribing for more unvarnished truths about corporate Britain. Drop a comment sharing the unwritten rules you've observed in your workplace. In my next video, I'll be covering how to recover from political missteps, because even the most skilled players occasionally miscalculate. Until then, keep your allies close and your organizational chart with a grain of salt.